You are listening to the And I Quote podcast, brought to you by Coterie Insurance. And I Quote was on a mission to share the importance of building relationships in the insurance industry. Through conversations with insurance agents and industry leaders, Coterie is bringing you episodes focused on relevant and trending topics.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the And I Quote podcast hosted by Coterie Insurance. My name is Christine Morrison. I'm a senior enterprise account manager at Coterie, and I'm really excited to introduce a really special guest today, Dan Feigenbaum, the CEO of London Underwriters. London Underwriters is a partner that I have the pleasure of working with. Dan is an early adopter and a huge advocate and proponent for InsureTech, which has been hugely beneficial to Coterie as a company.
Christine, thank you so much. Fans of the podcast, Coterie, thank you so much for having me on today. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you a little bit on the topic of InsureTech, tech-enabled MGAs, the insurance marketplace in general for 2025, and of course, anything that you and I want to get into in this conversation, Christine.
Yeah, definitely. Looking forward to it. You have amazing insights. And again, as a real early adopter of InsureTech, that's been instrumental to our success and, helping transform the insurance marketplace as we see it today, right? I'm being in the industry as long as we have. We've seen it go from filling out accord forms, filing cabinets filled with papers, to a little bit more of a digital experience today. I think there's still some room to grow, but, London is helping us pave the way to get there. All right. And I'm going to let Dan introduce himself and take us through his career and what brought him to the insurance industry and how he got involved in the space.
Yeah, Dan Feigenbaum, CEO of London Underwriters. I started my insurance career right as the market had collapsed at the end of 2007, start of 2008. Not expecting at all to go into insurance. I was expecting to go into maybe investment banking or anything else that sounded maybe a little bit sexy in business school, but never really expecting to go into insurance. And started in retail in 2008 to 2010. Then got the opportunity to become a Lloyd's cover holder in 2011 at a very young age of 23 years old, which I don't think many people get that experience, but having to go to London and going through that process was fantastic. I bring that all into the context to say that my traditional view on insurance, very much also through the Lloyd's side, started with going to see what it looked to for a contract to be written at the box, for the underwriter to look at the broker in the face and try to get a deal done. I know this obviously precludes a lot of the ways that we even do insurance in the US, but this is the old school traditional Lloyd's of London way to do it. So that was our genesis back in 2011. Our journey with InsureTech begins was in 2016. We got the opportunity to work with a brand that I think many people also know in the industry. Hiscox now was one of the first entrants doing that small business, micro business, online rate bind, maybe InsureTech-y. So that was our first foray into it. We then in 2017 got acquainted with a company called Next Insurance. They were in the B2C space exclusively. We had an opportunity to speak with their leadership, and we convinced them that it would be worth for them to take a shot to come into the B2B space, to bring on the agency distribution channel. And I bring that all into context to say, Christine, to your question about small business and the challenges that maybe the small business consumers are seeing and the retail agents are seeing, to say that it's been a bit of a journey to get here. Our biggest fear, I would say, over the last 6 or 7 years, as we heard the buzz of InsureTechs and enabled MGAs, was whether these partners that are now partners, whether these incumbents were going to lose business, whether the retail agents were going to lose business, and it was going to go to a direct channel provider. I could tell you with a lot of confidence that over 87% of the distribution of small business in 2024 still being done through the agency distribution channel. So the insurance agent is as relevant as they've ever been. That has not been disrupted, but rather, in my opinion, what's been created are a lot of phenomenal tools, a lot of phenomenal efficiencies that came through InsureTech's coming to market and are now available for agents to be able to utilize in servicing and accessing and selling small business insurance. So for me, the biggest challenge that I have seen for the small business space for agents, I would say, are traditional personal lines agents that have never really sold commercial insurance, that want to get into the commercial insurance space, but fear that perhaps it's either the language is a problem in terms of terminology and the lexicon that we use in maybe some of the commercial terms, or maybe creating, to your point from before, going back and filling out in the core form a 125, 126, 140, maybe that looks scary, and you don't know what to put in exactly and how to classify things, or maybe it could also be the time that it takes. So I think that's the largest challenge for that group. And I'm excited to speak with you about how I think Coterie has helped solve that problem.
Okay. So, Dan, as you had mentioned, Coterie has played a big part in helping these agents, transition from that personal to commercial lines, which can be a really kind of scary experience, if you're not familiar with it. As you said, the language is different. The applications you have to fill out are different. Would you mind sharing how Coterie has helped London in that respect?
Absolutely, Christine. I can tell you without a doubt that if you are an insurance agent who is predominantly in the personal line space, you are very uncomfortable, you're unfamiliar, you're hesitant about starting up in small commercial. By all means, the number one choice on where to start, I would say, hands down, is Coterie. Coterie is the easiest interface. It is the smoothest process, the quickest process for you to get to that answer that you want to get to. I'm going to put that into a little bit more of a real item here for you. Coterie's set of questions that you have to answer as an agent to get that client, that first GL quote, are so incredibly basic that it is sometimes mind-boggling how many questions other people ask to get you to the same place. Name, address, square feet, revenue, number of employees, payroll, and what they do, a classification with a phenomenal search base where you just basically type in restaurant. All your options for restaurants come down. Office machinery. That maybe is an ISO class code or a NAICS code. Maybe that doesn't apply to you. You're going to get items and words that look like that or are suggestive so that you can then select it. Once you've done those 5 or 6 inputs, you are off to the races. You're already getting a price. You're getting suggested terms. You're getting on and off buttons to be able to include things like blanket additional insured. If you don't know what blanket additional insured is, there's a little info button. It tells you all about it. If you want to add in, increase certain items. Again, the interface is absolutely fantastic. And what I can tell you about that is I can see how much thought went in from the Coterie side, from the Coterie team, to be able to create something that's so simplistic to the user. It's not easy. I know that I've been using the system for quite some time. I'm definitely an evangelist. I've been using it for over 5 years.
Yeah.
But I can tell you that a new user with us can get a Coterie quote in under 1 minute for commercial lines. It's that fast. So for agents, again, that are feeling a little bit hesitant, that think that commercial is going to take time and effort away from what they're doing on the personal lines, I could tell you that this is one of the best tools that you could have in your agency to be able to get into the small commercial space.
We appreciate that vote of confidence, Dan. That is, what Coterie was built on. And we wanted to take the guesswork out of, getting this underserved segment of the market, the insurance that they're missing out on. We're built for small businesses to serve those small businesses. I'm glad to hear that we've been like an additional tool to have in your toolbox to increase, your agency base, and then to get them producing more with you and to become kind of a one-stop shop for everyone's insurtech needs in the market.
Absolutely. And, in preparing for this call a little bit today, as I'm sure most people are today, you get a chance to mess around with some of the new LLMs, some of the new large language models, ChatGPT, a favorite, I'm sure, of many people out there. I got a chance to ask GPT some questions today. And so if you don't mind, I thought I would maybe show you some of the ChatGPT queries that I did this morning that I think also will help listeners understand a little bit more about why the small business space is so valuable, and maybe why, if you are a personal lines agent, you should absolutely listen to this part and consider bringing in small commercial to your agency. So, we ready for this?
I'm ready. I'd love to see it.
Okay, great. So, what I wanted to know this morning with ChatGPT was, what percentage of homeowners in the US are also small business owners? And the reason for this question, I think, is just to make it obvious for the listeners out there. If you are a personal lines agent and you have a homeowner's insurance policy, what are the chances that that homeowner also has the ability to be a small business client for your agency? And so here, according to ChatGPT and utilizing some interesting data from both Zebra and the U.S. Department of Chamber of Commerce, they're saying that 50% of small businesses in the U.S. are operated from home. That's a staggering number. Now, obviously, we're not surprised by that, just having gone a few years after COVID. I know that it seems like it's a bit of a memory now at this point, which is shocking. But yes, absolutely, 50% of small businesses are operated from home. I also wanted to know a little bit more then about, how many homeowners are there? And if 50% of small businesses are out of the home, well, what is that opportunity? So again, according to the U.S. Commerce, the Chamber of Commerce, there are about 33.2 million small businesses in the U.S. And that accounts for 99.9% of all businesses in the U.S. And there are 122 million households in the U.S. approximately. That means that 1/3 potentially, and then we take that into half, so potentially 15 million small businesses are being operated from home as a potential client. It's very difficult to even contextualize how many opportunities that brings to the agents that have access to these clients that are your personal lines insureds, and you could very easily cross-sell a commercial account to them. And why would this make sense if you're an insured to do this? Well, here's the information I got from ChatGPT from a survey done by Zebra. 69% of all startups in today's economy as of 2020 are home-based. All these new businesses, all these new opportunities that are coming up, 69% of them are going to be home-based. And if we're going to think about that even further, I know cybersecurity, we've gone through ups and downs in the industry. People have talked about it as a hot topic. We just want to reiterate here that 60% of small businesses become victims to cyber attacks. And so that's both first party and third party that they have to handle. Even if they are a home-based business, they're susceptible to these types of challenges. And Coterie absolutely starts now including some cybersecurity options as part of their packages, again, with one click of a button. And so if you're thinking, okay, my client runs a home-based business, but do they really need small commercial general liability? Again, according to the Zebra, 36 to 53% of small businesses are sued every year. And the average liability suit costs at least $54,000 in terms of, defense costs and potential claims payments. So it's a real issue that the clients have. And to just maybe wrap that all up for you guys, here's the comparison of the cost by average monthly premium of insurance policies. You could see auto, you could see homeowners, small business. Look at that average cost. It is half the cost of homeowners insurance in many markets, and especially for the small business sector. You can get, I have done this personally many times. So again, agents that are used to selling personal lines, I have seen multiple times where you can get a $600 or less premium with Coterie for GL annual policy in under 1 minute. Your client isn't going to say no to that. Now what you've done is you've created another source of revenue for your agency. You've provided a service for your client. They are stickier now because you now have that extra line of service. And really, you're protecting them against that real exposure that we just talked about in that previous ChatGPT slide.
That's extremely illuminating, Dan. Thank you so much for sharing that information. Love the ChatGPT tie-in. And as you can see from, the graphic here, you almost can't afford not to have this small business insurance at $50 a month when the average lawsuit is $54,000. Our limits go up to 2 million, 4 million. It kind of seems like a no-brainer, as you said. And again, the more accounts that these agents have for each client, the stickier they become, the more renewals you're going to get. It just kind of grows and builds on each other.
You're so right.
I'm happy that Coterie can be part of putting time and money into putting time back into producers' hands and then putting money in their pocket because they're not waiting, days, weeks, sometimes a month to get a no on a submission. We tell you instantly. We help you quote quick and we help you bind quick, or we tell you no quick. So all of these things, just again, trying to make it easy and fast and protect these small businesses that comprise so much of the industry in the United States. It's a staggering amount.
It is a staggering amount. It is growing. We're expecting 2025 also. In many cases, people are very bullish on what's going to happen in 2025 in terms of the economy. And we definitely are expecting to see even more new businesses come up. And so agents have to be ready to have that tool, to have that solution. Why would you let this business walk away from your agency when you can literally do it in under a minute?
Yeah, that's, again, trying to make this as simple, or even in some cases, more simple than a personal lines quoting process right away.
I couldn't agree with you more, Christine. I think agents will get to the point where they're going to say, oh my God, this is easier. This is faster. This is more efficient, potentially even more lucrative sometimes than just doing those small.
Exactly.
I don't have to go to 6 markets. It's so easy.
It's so easy. Well, I really appreciate your take on that. Again, all about the digitization and modernization of insurance, which is an industry, again, being in the industry as long as we have, I think it was time for a shakeup, but we still have some room to grow. And I would love to hear your opinions on what you think the future of InsureTech may look like in the coming, months, years, and how London is working on modernizing that even as we speak. I know you've launched LU1, your new SSO, to make it even easier to get logged in and access to multiple markets. So I'd love to hear you talk more about that. And then again, what your vision is for the future of InsureTech.
Thank you so much. Absolutely. I'd love to tell you guys more about that. So as Christine mentioned, we launched an innovative platform called LU1. It does use SSO, so that's single sign-on technology. What we're trying to do there is make it seamless for people to be able to go into one login, and then you can very quickly, with a click of a button, access all the great products that are out there that are tech-enabled, like Coterie. So now, the issue that we saw a few years back, and I'm sure you guys have dealt with this in the past, what was my Coterie login? What was my Coterie password? Did I reset it? Did somebody else change it? How do I track this? Now you multiply that by the number of carriers and the number of users you have at the agency. It starts getting convoluted. It starts getting complicated to track and manage. So with LU1, as long as you just access our platform, and you can do that with like a LinkedIn login, with a Gmail authentication, with your email, once you're in, you're in. Now you just click the button, you're off to the carrier site or to the MGA site, and you're quoting and binding directly. All the records are automatically transferred. We know who you are. We've pinpointed you. And we're also tracking all of your production in a single location. So absolutely, Coterie is definitely one of our preferred partners. We have at this moment in time over 15 insurtechs that are live on the platform. Plus we have traditional, mentioned originally a Lloyd's cover holder, and I still am to this day, very proud of it. We have our traditional binding and brokerage side. So one of the issues that we found over time was it was very convoluted, and having seen some of our competition out there, sometimes the insurtech side didn't speak to the underwriting and binding side. We're really looking at this from an omni-channel perspective. We centralized all the quotes, we centralized all the policies so that you, as a user, can see them all in LU1. So whether it was a Coterie GL or it was an Kinsale property quote, all of that will be available to the agent as a user in LU1. So that's been, I think, extremely helpful. The other part that I could tell you, just to maybe kind of circle back on what's happening with InsureTech and why I think there's a lot of opportunities here for us. I want to share with you another ChatGPT search that I did. As you can see, I really went down a rabbit hole this morning. We talked about the independent agent market share. We talked about how really there's an opportunity here with all the tools that InsureTech has built over the last 5, 6, 7 years for the agents to now utilize into their tool shed and to really deploy out the technology. So what I could tell you is the adoption rate for technology in insurance, and I'm sure I'm not going to shock anybody when I tell you this, has been horrifically low for decades. And here's a quick chart that they provided for me from ChatGPT about the tech adoption rates from multiple industries. So we looked at general finance, real estate, manufacturing, retail, healthcare, and insurance. As you can see here, insurance is just above manufacturing. Now think about the complexities that it takes for you to maybe update some technology in manufacturing, machinery, complex or maybe very bespoke, customized equipment. In insurance, it's a people service and certainly very much a digital now practice. So it's, quite shocking for, I think, a lot of the world to maybe learn that insurance isn't at the top of this list. And really we should be. We should be possibly even above retail. We don't have necessarily stock inventory. A lot of times we don't even have foot traffic coming in through our stores. So, why is finance leading the way here? Why is insurance not leading the way? And so that's really what I want to try to be more of an evangelist here for, and say that it's great to use DocuSign and all of these digital PDF signature equipments. We learned that through COVID, and certainly I think it's been widely implemented. It is very cool now to see how we're using ChatGPT. Certainly, I'll put my hand up and say I use it maybe more than I'd like to admit throughout the day, but there are even greater tools that are coming out to the space that I think are really noteworthy. And certainly with Coterie as one of the leaders in the tech space for insurance, I think agents should really see how amazing it is for you guys to be able to, again, classify risk in a search tool so easily, right? No longer do you really have to spend so much time on classification. You guys bring that right up to the forefront so easily. No longer do we have to spend the amount of time also to maybe do the background search on the insured and get additional information. A lot of that is even being pre-populated when you just plug in the address on Coterie. You guys are already getting in third-party data. You're already throwing that in. You're even putting in suggestions. You're telling us the square footage. You're telling us the expected sales, the number of employees, payroll. All that is already suggested. It's up to the agent, of course, to verify with the client, but it's already there. And so when you think about how underutilized and how easy you guys are making this, it's honestly shocking that the insurance distribution space isn't utilizing this more. This is the time to try InsureTech. This is the time to try Coterie and other tech-enabled partners that can really just show you a different methodology, a quicker way to maybe get some of this done. And when I bring up the topic of omnichannel, what I want to bring up about London and a little bit of a shameless plug here in LU1, where I think that we're different from a lot of our competition is the way that we present the product. If you're an agent who likes to send us an accord, send us an accord to an inbox. An underwriter is going to take a look at it. In many shops out there, if it isn't a ENS binding authority or a brokerage account, then the underwriter isn't going to go to that market. For us, the viewpoint that we have at London Underwriters, we empower and we have our underwriters and brokers the access to look at all of our available markets. So if we get in a restaurant in, let's say, North Carolina, and Coterie is a very much a viable option for that restaurant, they're not just going to send you E&S options. Our internal team is going to send you a Coterie GL admitted that we can bind through our InsureTech partners. And our goal there is best fit, best product, quickest turnaround time. So that's where we're spending a lot of time in 2025. We're trying to figure out if we were to just give retail agents the access point to just put in, again, 4 or 5 key points about the insured, can we give you 6 or 7 options that you can then see from a pricing perspective or from a coverage perspective, which way you want to dive in deeper and maybe solidify that quote. We're working on making that available through both admitted direct bill InsureTech options, as well as now integrating E&S options that will be available starting in February 1st. So I think really my key takeaway here is the technology is being, not only was it invented already and it's being deployed out by phenomenal partners such as yourselves, but it's now really onto the agency distribution channel to take a hold of that and really use it to make themselves more efficient, faster, and to win more deals. Ultimately was what they should be after.
Exactly. I couldn't have said that better myself. I think what I am very impressed, but also depressed to see is that I would have expected us to at least be closer to the finance bar in the tech adoption across industries, because there's always a lot of crossover between insurance and finance. Those industries are compared so heavily that it's, again, I'm not surprised to see that they've outpaced us with fintech, but I would have hoped that InsureTech would be higher up on that list.
We're all
But like you
disappointed,
said,
but the good news is we could do better.
there's room to grow. There's room to grow. And with all the advances coming, I mean, from everything, and I know you've seen it yourself, so room for improvements with tech-enabled underwriting decision-making, quoting, servicing behind the scenes, reporting, like using that data analytics to get actionable results on your book and improve it and optimize it. All these things are really exciting. And I know that London is, as always, going to be at the forefront of those next level advances in InsureTech. Again, because you're just an early adopter, and having people like you in the industry is the only way that we can get these types of things moved forward and to make these initiatives actually stick and work when they see that it excels in practice and not just as an idea.
Absolutely. And the other part that I can tell you that I think also Coterie does phenomenally well is the technology only tells you half the story, right? So we could only go so far currently on the tech side, but there's still a human perspective that still needs to be addressed, and it has to have a great outcome from. So what I mean by that is we get you onto the Coterie platform. You do a Coterie quote. It comes out to be a great price, but all of a sudden you realize you issued the policy, but now all of a sudden you need to do a modification. You need to maybe put in a comma to the named insured. You need to maybe update a mailing address. You need to make some sort of change. And you're a little bit bewildered. You don't know how to get that process accomplished. Or we pick up the phone every day, every minute. There's always a live person there to help with those answers and queries. And then also emails. I mean, we get a tremendous amount of emails. Every time somebody doesn't know how to make one of these modifications, they don't call or chat, we get an email. We want you guys to feel like, oh my God, not only did I do this in 1 minute and I maybe made a little mistake, and that's okay on the first one, but then these guys also helped me correct the problem. It wasn't a big deal. And now I'm back on to handling my business and on to more leads and closing more deals and handling my clients.
Yeah. And I feel like that's been such a huge and integral part of London's success story, is giving that, the tech to make your life easier, but then having that human touch so that you're not kind of out there alone and that you still have someone to fall back on as a support system. So blending those two, I think, is the way forward. And you guys do a really great job of that.
Thank you so much. And you know this better than anybody, Christine. Obviously, it's a people business. I think the one thing I
Always.
could tell you is I think insurance has some of the most wonderful people as an industry that I've ever come across. It's unbelievable how it just attracts phenomenal people. No matter how much tech we wedge for efficiency in the middle, there still has to be that human component to it.
Exactly. And you guys do, like I said, you do a great job of blending that and getting that balance just right. You are such a subject matter expert on insurance, InsureTech, and it's been really great to hear your thoughts and opinions on where we are now and where we could be going in the future.
Well, you're very kind, and it's always a pleasure to speak with you. And thank you so much for giving us a platform and an availability to talk about this. I'm always excited to talk about anything related to InsureTech, our great agents, and what's happening in our phenomenal industry. I could tell you that I'm very bullish. I'm very long for growth in 2025, obviously for our company, but I think as an industry, I think that there's a lot of opportunities. I think that, again, agents and agency owners should be very excited about what's coming in 2025. And I also think that if you are a CSR, if you are a personal lines producer, again, I think we've gone over this a few times during the episode. 2025 is your year to start small commercial. Don't be shy. We're here for you. Coterie's here for you. London is here for you. Let's do this in 2025 together.
Thank you for listening to the End I Quote podcast, brought to you by Coterie Insurance. Coterie puts insurance agents and brokers first, delivering instant business insurance across the United States. With an innovative quoting platform that delivers accurate pricing and bindable quotes in less than 1 minute, Coterie is making small business insurance effortless. Learn more about Coterie Insurance by visiting our website, located in the show notes.